We're getting near a quorum here. Push this, the red light will come on, and then we'll
All right, everybody, let's call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee. It is Tuesday, December 12th. We have a quorum here. We are certified and compliant with the open meetings laws, and I don't think anybody is going to come up for public comment. Not yet, anyway. Are there any communications from any members? All right. Then first item that we'll have up is an approval of the minutes for the November 14th and November 28th meetings, and I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
All right, motion by Lisa and second by Ozzy. Dave's coming in right now. All right, all in favor of the minutes, aye?
Aye.
Unless there's any
Aye.
edits, all right. Are any opposed? All right, those minutes are accepted. Couple of reports here, six of them. Anybody have any questions on those straight off the bat, or?
And I'll be honest, I created those comments 3 to 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I haven't looked back at them since, so.
Yeah, some things are probably a little different in them since.
The retirement payouts, I know I put a comment in. Under the general revenues for retirement payouts, the two people that I knew about is going to be about $71,000 based upon their December 22 balances. And I found out about 15 minutes ago, another long-term employee has given his retirement notice. So you're probably going to expect to see over $100,000 yet to get paid out in December. Checks will be issued technically in January, but it'll be a December expense.
The only thing I had to note was in the treasurer's report that the Schumacher Elevator Company is of no relation to me at all. Because it's $21,000. I want to make sure. It has nothing to do with.
Yeah, that would be a felony.
Right, exactly. I don't know who that is.
Well, Schumacher is a somewhat common name.
It's a pretty
so,
common name, so.
Yeah, we can assume that you're telling the truth.
Yep.
You know, if your last name was Schickelgruber or something
Exactly,
like that.
something
you
like
know.
that. But
Any
yeah,
other
it's the
questions on
German version is Smith, I believe.
that? I don't know. Any other questions other than the comments that I put in the various financial reports?
I
Okay.
don't see anybody jumping at that, so. Then we'll go straight into the business and talk about financing options for future fire apparatus purchases, big ticket items.
Josh, did you want to start or should I?
I can lay some of the groundwork.
So in the capital budget for 2025, we have scheduled a fire engine, and for 27, 28, we're looking at a ladder truck replacement. These are replacing trucks that are currently 22 and 21 years old respectively today. The ladder truck will be about 25 years old at that point. What we've looked into is pricing of this is going to be about just shy of $1 million for the fire engine and $2 million for the ladder truck, based on current pricing and anticipating some price increases over the next few years. That's kind of the estimate that we're running with. So it used to be that there wasn't much for prepayment as far as ways to knock the price off of the truck. As of late, Pierce, in the packet, there is some a memo based on Pierce's most recent, some of the recent trucks. So about a $200,000 drop in price from a $2 million truck for that. The trick is, we're looking at 3 years from when we order a fire engine until anticipated delivery. Ladder trucks are looking to be beyond that. I don't even want to speculate exactly what, but we order it and we'll see it a number of years down the road. I kicked some of the info over to Dave to kind of sort through the legalities of that, committing to a cost that much and what some of the potentials are. And I'll kind of let him speak to that, but that's kind of the discussion, is starting to lay the groundwork, because we're putting, at the fire department level, putting specs together for the truck, trying to figure out what this is going to be. The goal would be to order at least the engine this year, in anticipation of a 25, 26 delivery, best case scenario, and then trying to order the ladder truck not long after that as well. So that's kind of what we're, kind of the basics of where we're starting.
And talking with bond counsel, well, before I get into bond counsel for a minute, the fact that they're giving us a 10% discount is a good thing. We're not going to get that kind of interest earnings on our money, so we'd be money ahead there. The issue comes in with the IRS regulations. Now, assuming that we issue debt more than $5 million in that year, which we typically do, we've got a 3-year time limit to actually spend the funds. And bond counsel doesn't have any concerns with us basically prepaying for an asset under the IRS rules. We've got an accounting ramification, though, that we wouldn't consider it a capital outlay in the current year because we do not have the asset. All we put down is a large deposit, so it'd be a prepaid asset. And so then the statutes are kind of quiet. We can't borrow for operational costs. We can borrow for capital, and this would basically be a prepaid asset, which is a asset. Could you call it a future capital outlay? I think we could probably get away with it. There's no audit police out there from Department of Revenue that's going to look at that. But I have a little bit of a concern that we're looking at the 3-year window for getting everything. And worst case scenario, if it takes, instead of 36 months, it takes 40 months. The money that we borrowed has to go into the debt service fund, but we don't have the money anymore if we've sent it out. So we're kind of chasing our own tail, knowing where it's going. So while I'd like to get the 10% discount, I'm hesitant to recommend going forward with it, just because I don't know when we're actually going to get it. You know, if we were 18 to 24 months, fine. You know, but if Josh is saying, 36 months, and who knows what's going to happen to the supply chain issues going forward, we're getting ourselves into a potential quagmire, and I don't know the answer to it. So the conservative accountant in me is saying, I wouldn't want to go forward with it. Now, again, as I stated, is there going to be any audit police that comes out to us from Revenue or IRS? I doubt it. Bond counsel's, happy or says they have no concerns with it. So from that viewpoint, it's good. So I guess I'm just putting it out there so that you folks can discuss it and ask either of us any questions. Rick, I know this isn't your area, but do you want to chime in?
I guess one thought that I have on it is, one potential risk, I guess, is if you do make the upfront payment. Like Pierce is a well-known manufacturer, I mean, in the industry, but you're providing them, $2 million up front, and what happens if, for some reason, something happens to the company? We don't have any necessarily security about getting that money back in the future. So that, just with the long timeline of when you pay and when it's delivered, there are risks involved with that, rather than the cash on delivery system where you would pay once it's delivered. So just one thing that comes to my mind when thinking about a purchase like this, and it's a significant investment, obviously, and so you just want to consider we don't know what's going to happen in that 4-year period or whatever time it takes for them to actually manufacture and deliver.
Yeah, Rick took the exact words out of my mouth. I would never, get a discount on any vehicle. Now, granted, again, it sounds like they're a very big company, but I would never write a check and say I'll have my car in 3-4 years. It just makes me really uncomfortable. So I feel like the risk is is too high for me to be comfortable with.
Mayor Jepsen?
I guess my question would be is, if we wanted to move forward, would we be able to maybe take it out of the general fund balance, instead of borrowing for it, and maybe do it that way for the deposit?
Well, you can reimburse yourself if you've got a continuing resolution out there, which you've approved this last time. We do one again in this particular instance. But you can reimburse yourself, again, going up to 3 years. So even if we took it out of the general fund cash balance, I've only got 3 years to get the reimbursement from bond proceeds. So again, now the question is, when do I bond for it too? Because do I try and bond at 2 years and 9 months to get within the window? Well, that's great, but now what happens if it's 3.5, 4.5 years to get it? So cash-wise, I could probably do it out of the general fund, but that's a large chunk of cash to take out. That would probably, without looking at it, use up all the cushion that we'd have that we're over our fund balance policy.
Yeah, and I think no matter what we would do, we'd have to have some assurances that if it wasn't delivered within a reasonable amount of time, however that would be defined, that we'd have the opportunity to cancel order and be refunded or something to protect ourselves for what you described. Because even though I think Pierce is a pretty solid company, and part of the reason they have supply chain issues is because they're the go-to company, and they've seemed to be adding on to their building every time I drive up that way. So I think they're pretty solid, but I'm just trying to throw out ideas, because if we could save some money, that would be nice, but it's kind of the risk-reward factor I think we have to look at here.
And I honestly did not think about what Rick was saying, the potential for clawback on a potentially bankrupt or whatever organization. So it kind of adds to my reticence to recommend going forward with this.
This is Matt. Can I weigh in on something?
Certainly.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned with a bankruptcy scenario than I am with simply delays in delivery when we've already paid for the truck. And once you've paid the money, getting it back is not easy. So you'd really have to be careful in drafting the contract to make sure that if there are delays, you are well protected to get your money back or get further discounts or something. The mayor is familiar with another recent situation where we had substantial delays in delivery of expensive equipment. And we ended up having to terminate the agreement, but I don't believe we had actually paid for the materials in that case. And it's a difficult situation to be in as a customer.
And I don't know, Josh, are there other communities that are having the same conversation? And maybe if you can either enlighten us or maybe bring some additional information back at a future meeting.
Yeah, the info that I've got are based on contracts that communities have had. I don't have the names. They are from Pierce. Our salesperson kept everything pretty generic as far as who was ordering, but the numbers are based on recent delivery or orders that they had taken on. And quite bluntly, I'm really not for or against. I just want to make sure that it's out there for discussion, because the financial side, there's a whole lot more rules than I know. I know the trucks and putting out fire. You start telling me about bonds, and it's gets to be a little mystery. So there's one other vendor that we've been looking at as well on $1 million truck. They had they would give a $70,000 rebate if you paid for the truck up front, but they're still they're at a 27-month delivery time too, so it's not, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be some type of price, I think, that some places will want just as a deposit. We still have to work through all of those numbers. Things have changed from how this normally goes, just like everything else, it seems.
I got one more comment or question for Dave Ellinger. If we were to borrow the money and hold it and invest it and earn some interest on it, we could use that to generate effectively a discount on the purchase price, but there are arbitrage rules that come into play that I think limit our ability to do that. Have you considered that? Whether we could do that?
The thought crossed my mind, but you're right. The arbitrage rules don't allow us to make investment earnings above the amount that we're paying the interest on the debt. So throwing out numbers, if we're paying 5% on the debt and we are making 6% return, that 1% interest we have to send to the IRS. So, you know, they do not want us making money borrowing for capital items.
Right, so we could earn some interest, but I don't know if you've done the math to see, like, does that effectively help you mitigate against the loss of the discount by earning at least some interest? I don't know.
I have not done that calculation, no.
Okay.
And what is the rationale for them to require a deposit? I mean,
I think, if talking about a deposit is just fronting the money for $1 million worth of supplies and personnel and all of that. For this, quite frankly, probably what they're doing is they're taking our money, if we do the full prepayment, they're putting it in the bank, making a whole bunch of interest that we can't, and that's how they're kind of making their way back from losses, and that's how they're insuring against price increases. Because the one thing we so far have in the fire truck industry with the custom chassis are we can lock in a price on a truck and pay that price in 3 years down the road. We haven't had the same price problems that commercial chassis have been having, that, you know, Public Works has with a plow truck, where every month Brett's been getting, it seems like, you're going to pay a little more for this now, and now you're going to pay more for this, and there's nothing you can do. So I kind of want to get in before the fire industry starts potentially going down that road.
And this is just, are you talking only about the ladder truck, or is this also for the engine as well?
This would be, the possibility is there for both. So obviously, the engine being less, it'd be less of
Right.
everything. And really with the engine, we do have some possibilities where it's not completely a 100% custom truck. There's some options that are kind of a few cookie cutters that we can make adjustments to. We're just trying to figure out what our needs are for the new truck and see if any of that fits into what we've got, because that might make the delivery time drop a little bit, so.
Those would be good to know. I mean, if you can get just a off-the-shelf truck and then get the mods on them, that would work for you. Something to get them in a little bit quicker. I mean, we realize these are long-term investments in it. So if you can squeeze another 20, 25 years out of them, then, it's well worth the investment on it for sure.
Yeah, we've been trying to, the ladder truck, we put some money into it with the idea that we could extend its life. To be blunt, it hasn't been working out real well. We're finding that the mixing of the old ladder truck and all of the technology when it was built with the new parts to replace things isn't going real well. It's currently, Monday went up to Pierce again to have some work done on some of the hydraulics, the outrigger system. So hopefully that is covered under warranty. We've been from the original work they were done, but we'll be, as we know more, we'll go forth. So.
All right. Speaking of the incompatibilities too, if you had decided to look at this other vendor, do their technologies mesh together well or not at all?
Generally, what we've talked with the vendors, while there's multiple vendors, the chassis that we work with that drive around are all generally the same engines, transmissions, axles. It's all, they buy parts, put it together. And everyone advertises that they can make our truck, if we buy something other than a Pierce, they can make the controls look pretty close to what the Pierce is, which makes our training of our staff a whole lot easier for the operators. We've got 2-3 trucks that are similar, and if we can keep going down that road, that'd be good. But that being said, I want to make sure we're keeping an eye on everything and not just locked in on one particular vendor either, so.
And all the connectors and that, the hose connectors and that are
Yeah,
universal?
that's all the same. That's NFPA, the national standards, they dictate how all of that is done. So there's really not much difference that way.
All right, so at least there's a few options out there anyway. What is it that you were looking for from us, just to talk about these?
Yeah, just a
finance
heads up,
options in
see what
there,
your thoughts
okay.
are, just to
Right.
kind of get it on the radar that this is becoming a thing that we're gonna,
Yep.
it's become a little more serious, so.
Okay, I mean, it seems like everybody's a little bit hesitant on bonding ahead just because of the uncertainty of the lead times, and that probably the cash on delivery is probably the way, at least we're thinking about it at the moment.
I mean, if there's more information you'd like, we could try to do some research and bring it back. I don't think it's a time-sensitive thing. I mean, sometime in the next 3 years, we'd probably like to get them ordered, but it doesn't have to be done tonight or next week or anything. So if there's something that you need from Dave or Ellers or from Rick or Matt, just kind of let us know what your thoughts are, and we
I
can.
mean, I think it'd be interesting to hit up either like, the legislators or the IRS or anybody like that. Like, this is probably not going to go away anytime soon. So, and these are cities that have their fire departments, own their fire departments, are going to all run into this same sort of issue. So it seems like maybe there could be some sort of either emergency exception until maybe the lead times come back down, so that there's a little bit of financial wobble room in there. Maybe put that time out specifically for buying fire apparatus for like a 5-year payout if you bond for it or something like that. I mean,
That would actually be IRS rules, changing it from 3 to
Right.
5, so.
luck.
With how wonderful Congress has been working lately, I wouldn't think we're going to have a high priority for this issue.
no, that's true, but, yeah. They don't make it any easier for us, though, so.
No, they don't.
Okay, I guess we got some time to think about it, and I'll give you some time to spec out the trucks and what you need for it.
Yeah, once we have a spec, we can.
Once we have the specs all set, then we can get a better idea of where the price actually is going to sit, a good range on that, and we can
Mhm.
kind of move ahead from there.
All the bells and whistles, pun fully intended.
Yep, all the bells. You know, if anyone's familiar with Mount Horeb, one of my instructors was Chief Himsel, who was notorious for 2 bells and 4 sirens, and yeah, we won't be going down that road, but.
All right, thanks, Chief. All right, next bit we've got up is discussion and possible action regarding the STI Holdings, Inc. tax incremental financing request.
So this one here is, we had a meeting, I think it was last week, with the STI team, and what we'd like to do is have a discussion regarding the creation of the TIF district while we work out the details of the developers agreement. And certainly Matt or Rick or Dave or Rodney, you can probably fill in the blanks.
And Gary, I think, is also on the, at the meeting by Zoom. The action that is being requested is a recommendation to the council to approve the resolution that Gary drafted that would simply authorize moving forward with the TIF creation process, because it takes, several months to get through that process. And STI is hoping to stay on a schedule that would allow them to get started with their project next spring. But we still have a number of issues we're working through on the development agreement that before we can bring that back to the Finance Committee and the Council, we frankly don't think that we'll be ready to do that until late January. And so if the city is willing to move forward with creating the TIF district or getting that process started, we can stay on, STI can stay on schedule. I guess I would add that STI did sign a reimbursement agreement with the city, so any costs associated with the work that needs to be done here to create this TIF district, STI has agreed to pay. So that's my summary.
If I can add to that this, moving forward with the planning of the TIF district in no way implies you're agreeing to creating the TIF district. That happens at the conclusion of the planning process, is when you look at the plan and you make the final decision that, yes, we're going to create this TIF district. By that point, we hope you'll have a signed development agreement in hand when it comes time to make the decision whether or not to create the TIF district.
And from a financial point of view, the plan, assuming that the council moves forward with the STI TIF, is that Ellers would be working concurrently on both TID 10 downtown overlay and TID 11 STI holdings at the same time. Because it's being done concurrently, it drops the price from the 17,000 that's listed to 12,000. So we've got savings there. Now granted, STI is going to be paying the fees, so they'll pay less, but it's always appreciated when our vendors give us a break.
If I could jump in with one more comment, the resolution that you have in your packet has an error in it. The agreement will be, or the resolution is to move forward with the STI Holdings TIF request, not Stoughton Trailers, Inc. That's an error that it has been corrected, but didn't make it to the packet.
Got Gary, I got one question for you. Within the Ellers document, they've got things set out as phase 1, 2, and 3. Is that, do those phases align with the proposed development phases from STI?
No, I believe their phases relate to the process for creating the TIF district and involve the, doing an analysis, then creating the plan, and then moving it through the process.
Got it, okay, so those are not conjoined at all.
Correct.
All right. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that?
Yeah, I think the other part is this will probably be our only meeting in December, so we kind of want to keep things moving. And then we can do some work between now and the January 9th meetings is kind of the plan. That would give us several weeks for us to work on some of the components of the developers agreement, and then anything else that, would come up as part of that process.
All right, does anybody have any questions on this agreement to move forward with Ellers in the planning of the TID?
11.
TID 11, yes. All right, if none, I'd entertain a motion to recommend to council. All right.
Second.
Motion by Ozzy and second by Lisa. Are there any other questions on this resolution, intent or otherwise?
No, I just wanted to thank Gary for drafting the resolution.
Thanks, Gary. All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, we'll recommend that resolution to council. All right, so next one up is the item of an offer to purchase 521 Glacier Moraine Drive. This one may have an option to go into closed session based on statute 19.85, Paren 1, Paren E. But we can start it out in open.
Yeah, we have a couple guests here, and I asked them to join us to kind of give us an overview of the project. I know Director Shields been having conversations with the development group for several months, and they submitted an offer to purchase a piece of property out in the business park, which I believe was in the packet a couple weeks ago, and we just ran out of time. But since then, Attorney Matthews has drafted kind of some items for consideration that we would more than likely discuss in closed session. But we wanted at least to have the finance and then the council kind of get an understanding and an overview of the project before we got too deep into the offer to purchase.
Okay. Yep.
You can just kind of introduce yourself for the record, and remember, just push the button there, and then the floor would be yours.
There we go. Well, hi there. Thank you. My name is Michael Carlson. Thank you for welcoming us here today. It's always a pleasure coming down to Stoughton. I'm here with Mr. Richard Muma. I'm serving as his real estate agent for purposes of the offer to purchase for Stoughton. I also have a second hat on. I work for the architecture and engineering company that's also working with Richard on the design and then the development of the building as well. What Mr. Muma is proposing is essentially a two-phase project. We're here to talk about phase one, which is approximately 30,000 square foot light industrial building to be built on Glacier Moraine Drive, up on the north side of town here in the business park. His company FlowClaire produces hair and skin care products. He's been in business for about 20 years and has a worldwide market for these products, and currently has his production is through several facilities around the country, and now he's planning to bring it home. So we've been working with the city for the last, and city staff here who have been very receptive and always very helpful. It's always a pleasure doing work here in Stoughton, to work through dynamics of the purchase offer and the project and our preliminary plans. And it's been fairly complex in terms of kind of pulling all those pieces together, but that's where we're at today. And we submitted the offer a couple weeks ago, and look forward to answering any questions that you might have about it, either about the offer to purchase or the project. Richard, was there anything else you had wanted to add on to that? Okay, terrific.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Richard Muma, the owner and founder of Flowclair Group. I've been in business about 23 years in the beauty industry, and currently I manufacture my hair care and skincare products, 50% of it in China and the other 50% in Illinois. So during COVID, we had some problems, you know, with supply chain and all that, and that taught us a lesson that we need to rethink our business model. So we've been thinking of how we can bring production, all the production, to the United States, and also to allow us to control the manufacturing process, and in the process create employment. I've been working with WIDIC, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, in growing my global distribution of the product with the state's goal to increase exports. And with that, we have decided that we should move the production that we have in Illinois, move it to Wisconsin, and move the production that we have in China to Wisconsin. And with the help of Michael here, we were able to find the land at 521 Glacier Moraine Road, which we feel is an ideal fit for us. And hopefully the offer to purchase that we have submitted will be accepted. So if there are any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
I'm just curious, where are you in Illinois now? And how many employees are you anticipating if you move here to Stoughton?
So currently we are manufacturing with a contract manufacturer in Illinois, in Homewood, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And once we bring production here, we're anticipating to create about 20 jobs within 3 to 4 years.
Thank
So
you.
there are 2 phases to this. The first phase is in the next 4 years, and then after that, once we reach capacity of the building that we have, then we can create even more jobs.
Thank you.
Is that your brand website? Is that it? Or did I get that correct?
It's ultimatearganoil.com. Ultimate Argan, ARGAN, oil.com.
All right, then that leads me into where you were with the product in there. So
Okay.
I was just like, what was setting your product apart and all that sort of thing. Just talk up your products a little bit.
Basically, what we are creating are products that do not use aggressive ingredients. A common practice in the beauty industry is to take shortcuts and not worry about the long-term effects of the consumer. You know, especially a lot of products that are sold in Africa and even here in the United States, it's culminated in federal government's ban of such ingredients as hydroquinone, and there's a whole bunch of ingredients that have been completely banned from use, but some people still use. So we guarantee that we don't use those ingredients. We use natural ingredients. Argan oil is a very natural ingredient, and we use sulfate-free. We create sulfate-free products in our shampoos and body washes and all that. So basically, we try to be as natural as possible.
All right, thanks. My background's biochemistry, so you can spell all those out. I know what they are.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have any questions for him?
Yeah,
Other
my
questions?
question would be just kind of maybe your overall timetable, kind of like where you are, where you want to be, how quickly you want to get there as far as getting your building constructed and up and running.
So a problem that we've had is the current interest rates, and borrowing $5 million that we hope will cover the first phase of the project is a daunting undertaking for us. Interest rates now are about what, 10.75, 11, thereabouts. So it's a huge burden. So we've been looking at ways that we can mitigate that. And the industrial revenue bonds, which you will probably be, if the offer to purchase is approved, that's the next thing that you will have to look at, gives us a better interest rate, because the city is a conduit through which the federal government uses to issue those bonds to us. So once those two processes are done, from the last meeting that we had with the architects and the building contractors, we are looking at a timeline of starting construction in May, was it? Yes. May. In May of next year, hopefully, because we gotta wait for the city process to be exhausted, and then we start the financing process. And we are thinking May we start construction, and it will take 10 to 12 months to complete construction. So we're looking at 2025, in the second quarter of 2025. So once construction is finished, we will do production and hopefully ramp up to capacity, which we hope to do within 2 to 3 years. And then after 3 years, we want to build out the facility to a full 80 to 100,000 square feet. And the second phase will also be another $5 million phase. And the industrial development revenue bonds will be able to cover that as well. And hopefully at that time, the interest rates will have gone down. So overall, within the next 5 to 7 years, we're looking at creating about 30 good, well-paying jobs.
And I would just add, Gary Becker is familiar with these industrial development revenue bonds. We have had a preliminary discussion with Ellers, and they directed us to Quarles and Brady. That's who we would use for something like this. And we would be prepared to have a conversation, after the offer is approved, to learn more about that process, and could possibly be back here in January to have a conversation so you guys could understand how that works, what the city's role is. My understanding, there's really no risk to the city, but we are a participant in some way. I'm interested in learning more about that.
A conduit is the phrase.
Conduit?
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely no liability to the city, but the bond has to go through the municipality where the project is going to be situated. because of the tax-free incentive that I gained from that, it has to go through a municipality.
And I do have experience with industrial revenue bonds at a couple of my past employers. It's not considered general obligation debt, and it only appears as a footnote entry in our financial statement that's got to get updated each year for the year-end balances.
Thank you.
So that's not something that's gonna go against our levy limits and anything like that, nothing?
No.
Okay.
Again, it's just a footnote entry. There's really no obligation for us. As the gentleman said, it's passing along the tax credits to him. We're just the conduit to help him have it.
All right, thank you.
I guess just a clarifying question for me. So the offer to purchase has like a TIF agreement condition in it. Is that separate from the industrial revenue bonds? And if it is, do you have a sense of what the tax increment financing request is going to be?
That is separate from the bond request. The TIF agreement is something we discussed with your team, and they mentioned that we can have that discussion if and when the offer to purchase is approved. So it's funds that we would look at to see where the city can help to cover some of the financing. No definite numbers right now, just.
Sure. Just so you're aware, so we have the property listed with the Realtor. The Realtor,
Blake George?
yes, we get feedback from Blake George with the city attorney, as well as Gary Becker is one of our consultants that we work with. And then internally, I think our process would be is to evaluate, the offer and more than likely do some sort of a counter offer or have a discussion about where we might land in agreement on that. So we want you to understand that, there'll be some back and forth, but hopefully we'll land in a good place that is, mutually beneficial. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted you to know that it's not like, we're going to make a final decision tonight. We might get some direction, but we still would have to draft, I think, whatever document to send back to you and your team.
That was my expectation.
Rodney, which of the properties is it that they're interested in?
So it's the first one that's vacant when you get off of Williams Drive, so it's just past where the NAFA property is.
Oh, okay.
It's about a 4-acre parcel of land on the south side of Glacier Marine.
Okay. And then, as your plan for the construction of your phased construction of it, obviously you'd put your one building or your starting building in the front area of it and then extend it backward. Is that
Backwards,
true?
yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
We were actually initially interested in two lots that were separated by a piece of land in between, because the idea that my team and I have was to create a manufacturing facility, and then in the second phase, to develop that into an R&D innovation center.
Okay.
And we would grow our own ingredients, extracts, and all that, innovation stuff.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I mean, do you even
So
have
it's
like greenhouses?
some exciting
Is that
stuff.
what you mean?
What was that?
Do you even have greenhouses in there for
Yes,
like plant
so
development? Okay.
the greenhouse we would have a greenhouse there.
Fascinating.
Mhm. Exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Now you're into my other area, plants.
Yeah.
Good thing you don't live far from there.
Exactly. I'll just pop over. I just live.
But we were
close
told
by.
that a piece of land that's adjacent to our land is having issues, and there might be some consideration by the city council to allow us to extend our property if
Okay.
we do get it sideways, so that we can accommodate that, that project.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions that we need answered? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So then, we'll probably go into closed session, talk about it. City council starts around 7-ish.
Yeah,
And then the agenda is not too intense, so we'll probably have the same conversation at the city council if you're willing to stay. And then during the closed session, you can hang out in the hallway or you could come back, whatever is convenient for you. Thank you for being here.
yep.
Is it okay if I leave some of my things here? Okay,
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
All right, motion by Lisa, second by Ozzy. All right, got to be by a roll call vote. Mayor? Lisa?
Aye.
Ozzy? Greg? Dave? Ben?
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it. Closed session.